Let's get it Star Wars. Let's get it Star Wars in here. Let's get it Star Wars. Let's get it Star Wars in here.
A small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio,
your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Oh no, this just in. Could be bad news for Star Wars toy collectors. A report saying that Hasbro has cut 15% of its global workforce, about 1,000 jobs worldwide. The suits are not excluded. It's important to note. It's not just the rank and files. COO Eric Nyman, he's gone. And consumer products, and that would include Star Wars action figures, Marvel Legends, all that stuff. They are taking the fall in terms of why profits are down, and so now the head of consumer products will report directly to the CEO. Yeah, so that's never a good sign. That's never a good sign. I think it's time to spin off the collector-focused Star Wars figures off to another company. Hasbro can still own the rights, but they can sublet them and partner with someone else that can do it. They can keep the kiddie stuff. You know, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that's coming out now for Bad Batch, and there was stuff out for Obi-Wan and Mandalorian for the kids. It's a smaller scale where they can get vehicles and stuff. They can keep that, but I think the collector-focused stuff should remain in the hands of collectors. Or in the hands of those that are equipped to handle the collector market. But anyway, so yeah, breaking news, bad news for those that are affected by big layoff like this. That's never fun. We'll continue to monitor it and make sure that if there's anything that directly affects us as Star Wars collectors, we'll get to that. But we've got a great show for you this week here, Rebel Force Radio. End of January already. Plus, there's more Mando Season 3 footage. A little bit more. There was what some are calling a secret trailer that was on Disney Plus. It was just Disney Plus's version of the trailer, and there's an extra shot. You don't have to rewatch the whole thing. We're here to tell you what you missed. Plus, Giancarlo Esposito, speaking of Mandalorian, showed up on the Tonight Show, and I'm sure that Star Wars probably came up. And it was a couple weeks ago where we had that episode of the Bad Batch called Solitary Clone, and I kept thinking of the Neil Diamond song Solitary Man, so we put the challenge out to RFR listeners to see if they could come up with their own version. And as it just happens, Neil Diamond, who wrote, of course, Solitary Man, came out in 1966, turned 82 this week. So happy birthday, Neil Diamond. All that and so much more coming up. And when I say much more, I'm including, of course, this guy, and that is my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Jeez, Hasbro cutting quarters. Neil Diamond's birthday, Swank, you threw out a lot at me at the beginning there.
Well, what do you make of...
So much so I have nothing to say about any of that stuff.
None of it. You don't want to say anything about any of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just too much, too overwhelming. I can't choose what
He's tapped out already.
Address.
He's tapped out. Well, no, I want to ask you because, I mean, when you're not in front of the microphone, you're putting... touches on the new Star Wars room that's going to have its unveiling here at some point. So you're touching all of this stuff, 40 years worth of Star Wars collectibles and whatnot. So I know that when Hasbro makes big news like this, it's going to certainly be of interest to Star Wars collectors like yourself. And I think that they really should just call it quits on making collector-focused Star Wars toys, action figures and things. Give it to somebody else, and they can do the big mass market stuff for the kids. Because I think that I just don't believe, and we've had Scott Knightlick on the show before, the toy guru, and he's a great guy, but he maintains that if a big brand like Hasbro is behind a toy line and they're putting it at mass market, then it's 85-90% of the market are kids and gift givers, and only 10% of the market is collectors. And if that's the case, then I have no other way, nothing other to conclude other than kids just aren't interested in that stuff anymore. And I think collectors are driving it. So why not?
Right. So if the kids aren't interested in it, then why are they targeting the kids still? We've shown that adult collectors are willing to spend the money on this stuff to maintain collections. We'll buy each and every one of them that gets put out there. Show me a kid who's going to say that. Show me a kid who has as much money in his wallet as I have in mine. Well, I mean, it depends on the kid, I guess. But that's where I think industry players like Hasbro are way behind, is because they failed to address the collector community, the adult collector community. So you're saying on one hand that it's kids buying all the toys, you got to target the kids, but sales are down, so I guess kids aren't buying toys anymore. Well, who is buying these toys? It's the adult collector. Address the adult collector community. If you have to do it separately, do it separately. But, I know a lot of adult collectors who cannot get the product, and they're willing to spend the money on it. So something is wrong here. Something is out of place here. And I think the toy industry on a whole, at least Hasbro, has been really slow to react to the adult toy collector community, which I believe is providing the foundation for their entire industry. I think we're the ones who are making the purchases. So, I'm tired of that old argument.
Yeah.
You saw in the early 80s, companies like Topps, Fleer, and Donruss, they acknowledged there was an adult collector for baseball cards. And so they started to market directly to the collector. And that created a bajillion-dollar industry. Hasbro, you're missing the boat here.
I don't know
how many times I have to spend
a pack of collector cards costs now, like a pack of baseball cards or football cards. It's nuts. It's nuts. $20. Upwards of $20 for a pack of cards. And these aren't the wax packs anymore. You're absolutely right. They're going after the collectors because, one in every 1,000 cards is a gold foil autographed card. Little kids aren't into that. They don't care. You're absolutely right. It's a total I think model to some degree that the toy companies could follow because they didn't just fold up and stop making baseball cards. They went after the market.
That's right. So you have to adapt.
Right.
And Hasbro is woefully behind in that department. Other toy companies have done it. McFarlane famously.
Right.
Going after the adult toy collector. And even high-end companies like Hot Toys or a Sideshow, they address the adult collecting community.
Yeah.
And so I don't see why Hasbro doesn't at least create a subdivision that does that, because it seems like you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And that guy, Toy Guru, he told us the reason that doesn't happen is because you have to employ someone to run that division. And they're too cheap to pay a salary to do it. Meanwhile, they're bleeding money.
Yeah.
God,
yes, the bleeding money to the point where they have to cut 15% of their workforce, and it's not all about Star Wars. Marvel Legends is having similar problems. They're all having similar problems, and then what they keep doing is they keep jacking up the price. You go in to buy an action figure now, 3 3/4-inch action figure. What is it? $20 now? Close to it, if not that.
In some cases, yes.
Yeah.
In some cases, more.
Yeah.
In some cases, more.
The Black Series figures are up to $35. I mean, look, of course, this is first world problems here. We're not saying, but if all we want to do is collect stuff and give these companies money, and they just tend to make it more difficult each and every week as time goes by.
This is true.
All right, but enough of that. Let's get into some happier things. There's enough bitching about toys and collectibles and all that. We've got a voicemail. Let's hit the voicemail. It's always nice to hear what people are saying.
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message? Message after the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Hey Jason, hey Jimmy, it's Brendan from Columbus. Listening to this week's most recent RFR, and you guys are talking about the Mandalorian Season 3 trailer that dropped on Mando Night Football. And Jimmy, you were talking about how awesome it is to sit down with a family, watch it as it's happening live, and know that it's happening in thousands of other households across the United States and really across the world, and just making Star Wars that special event that it really, really is. And, I've been thinking about this for a long time, basically since The Mandalorian first came out on Disney+. Why can't we have The Mandalorian and other big Star Wars shows like this drop live on Disney Plus at a time that's prime time when everyone can watch together, just like this trailer? I think that at this point we can all agree that when Star Wars is firing at its best, it is prime time television. It's a prime time event, and it deserves that type of reverence and the opportunity for people to enjoy it at the same time and talk about it and have tweets flying across the Twitter sphere and give everyone the same opportunity to just enjoy it at the same time and then talk about it together. I just would love that so much if we could watch The Mandalorian together at 9 o'clock on Sunday evening or Wednesday evening or whenever it is, and then we can all talk about it at the same time and the next day. And so, I don't know. I just was wondering what you guys thought. Do you think that'd be a good idea? It's something that, certainly Disney Plus could make it happen. Do you think it's something that's worth doing that you would enjoy? Anyway, hope you guys are doing great. May the Force be with you.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. That's a great question. I got a lot of thoughts. Mac, what do you think? Because you're one of these guys that stays up sometimes until what does it come out at 3 a.m. for you? Or no, midnight for you. It's 3 a.m. or 3 a.m.
No, 2 a.m.
2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's midnight on the West Coast, and then it works its way across. Yeah.
I really shouldn't be doing that either, but I do. It throws off the whole rest of my week. And why? Why do they have to make sure that it lands at that time overnight? Because they want to get a full, complete 20-hour, a 24-hour midnight to midnight on the West Coast? Is that what? It does seem weird to me. Why do they drop it in the overnight hours when no one is really watching? That's a really good question. They should be making it more of an event. And here we are doing the market research for Disney Plus again. You guys should really listen to us. You should listen to our callers. They're making a lot of sense here. But, it just falls on deaf ears all the time. It does seem like they're missing a marketing opportunity. I think logistics, maybe it's too many people hitting their servers all at once. But that's like something somebody would say in 2005. Not today. Yeah. Not a company like Disney. They should have the best servers in the world to be able to handle this streaming service that they've put all their eggs into this basket. They really have. So what is the deal with it dropping overnight? Whose idea was that? Who came up with that? Why, Bob Iger? Why?
Yeah, I think when they say, all right, this episode premieres on this date, it's like, well, this date when? 8 o'clock p.m., 9 o'clock p.m., and what time zone and all of that. So I think the time zone has a lot to do with it. It may be the way that these, streaming services don't have the same type of ratings as does network television and radio and that sort of thing. They have their own system. I think you might be onto something with, looking at the number of hits in the first 24 hours, number of streams, and all of that. I think it's as simple as we announce the date when this thing is going to drop, and that means midnight. They're a West Coast company, so they're going to drop it at midnight, which means it's 3 a.m. for me, it's 2 a.m. for you. I would take this a step further, though. I don't see why, given the fact that it is a bona fide smash hit, talking about Mandalorian here, we're not talking about Andor. I don't know why these things can't premiere on a network like ABC on a night of the week and then put them on Disney Plus immediately following or something like that. I just don't know why they're not repurposing that content. I guess it could be because they really want to drive the subscription numbers and all of that, but I would love it personally if Mando was more of that appointment, watching community event. I think it makes a lot of sense. They tried it as an experiment with Andor. I never saw any reports of what those ratings were. That happened over the holidays.
Those are easily accessible.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But so
I don't.
We did. They didn't
Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Just what we said. They're putting all their eggs in that streaming basket. That's their priority. They want to focus all their resources toward that area because Netflix is still way in the lead. Don't think for a second Disney wants to be second to Netflix.
And Disney Plus is losing money by hundreds of millions of dollars. It's losing money, but they believe in it. They think that it's the way of the future. And they think that, I think Iger had promised by 2025 it would be profitable. Here we are in 2023, still not
some
profitable.
of those promises.
Yeah,
some of those promises. So they'll do anything to make it profitable, just like with Hasbro. They're going to be cutting corners left and right. We're going to be getting action figures made out of pipe cleaners and cotton balls. That's what it's going to come down to. But we'll still buy it because it has the Star Wars logo on the package. The packaging looks nice, so we'll still buy it. But, all avenues go to the streaming service right now. And that's why you don't see physical media. You don't have a Mandalorian Season 1 box set. It's because that's where they want you to see it. They don't want to throw it out on some network for the people who aren't paying to see it, know. And are the advertisers interested in something like that?
Well, they're going to have a tier of Disney Plus with advertising. So, I'm in that.
I'm afraid of.
Yeah, and I'm in that business a bit in terms of buying advertising, and I've seen what some of the minimum ad buys are for these platforms like Netflix and their ad-supported tier, and it's not going to be mom and pop. That's going to be able to afford those minimums. It's going to be big brands. And if you already subscribe to something like Hulu, you know what happens. You see those damn Progressive insurance commercials every break, and it's the same commercial over and over. And it's like, boy, those avails are, little, ad lingo there. But I mean, I'm just saying
you better not have a problem with Flow.
I don't have a problem with Flow.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying that I wish they would at least run different ads if we're going to see if it's all Progressive. Different ads would be good. But I don't know. I mean, Jim, do you think that a show like, put all the business calculations aside, could a show like Mandalorian, Sunday nights, 9 p.m., ABC, do you think that could work? Could it bring in the viewers?
Yeah, it can, but they don't have expanded seasons. It would be a mini.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. You're talking about 8 episodes. Yeah. Right. Good point. So
it doesn't really fit the network model in that regard. So,
and I don't know that I want to see.
They could give it a shot
episode.
as a mini series.
Yeah, right.
If they wanted to.
We were talking offline a while ago about V, the miniseries V, and it was wildly popular, and it was few. It was only a couple of nights, but and when you talk about the network model and how you have to stretch these seasons out to 22, 24 episodes, we're seeing that with the Bad Batch, 16 episodes. You stretch that out long enough, you're going to get some filler stuff. And I don't know that I would really want a 22 episode Mando season, to tell you the truth.
Right. And on top of it all, they make more money with it on Disney Plus than they would putting it on networks anyway, because network numbers are down because everyone's streaming.
Yeah.
So, You know, it's the tail wagging the dog here in many ways. So, but I'm still, regardless of what those logistics are, I'm with our caller. I would much rather see a prime time dropping of these shows, and different time zones be damned. Just drop it at 7 p.m. Pacific time. I get it at 9, you get it at 10. That's fine. It's a lot better than 2 a.m.
Yeah,
we could do after shows like immediately.
That would be fun.
We could do watch parties.
Yeah, that would be great. That's a great idea.
Good old time.
We should do that. All right,
you guys on the West Coast got it good. That's all I got to say. Midnight is even reasonable as far as I'm concerned, but this 2 a.m., 3 a.m. business, forget about it.
Well, you know what? We have had sort of a test of this concept. Remember when we were at Star Wars Celebration and they released Kenobi in sort of a prime time slot. We all ran to the hotel rooms. I mean, that was really fun to actually be there in the, at the convention and all of us running to our hotel rooms to stream it. I tried 3 different devices to finally get it. Of course, Max strolls in having just watched it on the big screen. Poor Billy and I are just furiously trying to make it happen. But it was a lot of fun knowing that everybody was watching it at the same time. It was a heck of a lot of fun. All right, let's do it. Let's get into some headlines. We've got some news for you this week.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
All right, if you were one of the many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, that watched the Mandalorian Season 3 trailer as it premiered on Mando Night Football a couple weeks ago, you didn't see it all. According to reports, and I haven't actually watched it, I just looked at the clip of what we missed. Apparently, the Disney Plus app has its own version of this trailer. And if you go into the Mandalorian page on the app and you look at extras, you go through the menus and all of that, you can find this this trailer that's sitting there right alongside, like, inside look at season 2 and all this stuff. So it's something that, you might have missed. And Jim, the what everyone's pointing to is this scene, this clip where you can clearly see a Star Destroyer being worked on, being built, being dismantled. We don't know exactly what status this Star Destroyer is in, but clearly work is being done on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like it's docked on a planet.
Mm-hmm. Coruscant, maybe?
And the planet, the planet appears to be Coruscant. It's a very metropolitan city with the tall skyscrapers and city landscape as far as the eye can see. And when they show the shot of the Star Destroyer, and it's a nighttime shot.
Yeah.
There's clearly something going on with this ship. There's lights shining on it. It looks like some sort of droids flying by it. Looks like there's an Imperial shuttle parked alongside it. And you hear Carson Teva saying in the voiceover, there's something dangerous happening out there.
Mm.
And so this is slotted in the trailer about a minute deep on Disney Plus only. This single shot is not seen anywhere else for whatever reason, who knows. But and that's the only difference in the trailer. But it's a parked Star Destroyer, probably parking me in, I got my Toyota there. And I was like, oh, no, is this thing parallel parked right alongside of me, double parked me in as I was coming out of Dex's Diner, a little wasted, too.
Can you imagine? How are you going to get around that thing?
Yeah, I know. I just go back into Dex's Diner and say, is happy hour still going on, Dex?
Have some more Jawa juice.
Yeah. Oh, that Jawa juice, said there's a kick to it. I know why Obi-Wan preferred it. But, yeah, just a little oddity, a little variation in the trailer as presented on Disney Plus. You could find it if you go check out The Mandalorian on Disney Plus and click on extras. You'll see The Mandalorian Season 3 trailer. And there you have that one shot. It's not spoiling anything, but it's pretty damn cool.
Do you care to speculate as to what state this Star Star Destroyer is in. It's in plain view, though, as you pointed out, it's at night. So it doesn't look like anyone's trying to hide anything. So I doubt that these are, because I've seen some people say, "Oh, this is the beginning of the, the First Order, ships, or maybe this is Palpatine's secret fleet of Star Destroyers that we see at the end of Rise of Skywalker." I'm not ready to make that leap there. I don't think it's that. I think it's a Star Destroyer, and it's in, how do we know this isn't just being used by the New Republic?
There you go. It's just out in the open.
Yeah.
And this is, Coruscant is obviously under the control and jurisdiction of the New Republic at this time. So this could be like a captured Star Destroyer that was converted into a hotel. Disney, that's what you should have done. Oh, by the way, I've heard there's already slashing the prices on the Galactic Star Cruiser, less than a year of its existence.
Yes.
None of the dates are filled outside of Memorial Day weekend up at this point. I mean, when I say filled, I mean sold out. So, maybe they'll do a few things to bring that down into a more reasonable price for us normal people, but we shall see. But there it is. Why is it parked on Coruscant? It's right out in the open. I'm leaning toward captured Star Destroyer, war relic, maybe a museum, maybe converted into something, like you see those you'll see those train cars, and they're converted into little diners or something. I don't. Maybe this is the equivalent.
What's one of those? It's a theme restaurant now.
Yeah, right.
A taste of the old empire.
Yeah. It could be. I mean, I'm only saying that because it's just like blatantly out in the
right.
open.
No, you can't hide that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So who are we playing with? So if it was part of Palpatine's new order or whatever he was coming up with, that was all being done on the down low on a star system nobody could get to. Coruscant's the jewel of the galaxy, the center of the galaxy. It's where all the business happens. It's not where you hide things out in the open like that.
Hey, you know what? I jumped ahead, and I apologize. There was something that we wanted to mention. It's very, very important, and that is that Rancho Obi-Wan is up for Best Pop Culture Museum.
Yes.
If you go, so 10best.com is having a contest, and there are a lot of pop culture museums when you think about it, but we don't care about the other ones. What we care about is Rancho Obi-Wan. And this is sponsored by USA Today, so they're counting down the 10 best Reader's Choice 2023. And if you go over, we'll have the link. Jim, where should we put the link so people know? Probably over at ranchoobi1.org, I'm sure. But
yeah, and we also have in the news section on our homepage at rebelforceradio.com, there's a little post there with some links.
All right.
So, there's all sort of wild pop culture museums that are eligible to be voted for as favorite pop culture museum of 2023. You have the American Sign Museum in Cincinnati, the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum. That's in Columbus, Ohio.
The Billy Ireland.
Billy Ireland. Good old Billy Ireland. Irish William. You have the Christmas Story House and Museum, also in Ohio, and Cleveland. These are all Cleveland and Columbus. It's all Ohio.
I've been to the Christmas Story House. It's pretty cool. It's great. It's no Rancho Obi-Wan, but
yeah, right. Comic-Con Museum in San Diego, California. Computer History Museum in Mountain View, California, up there in the Bay Area.
Yeah, nerds.
The Doo-Wop Experience Museum in Wildwood, New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
The S. Peirce Museum in Little Rock. Boring. The Mothman Museum.
Oh, the Mothman.
What do they got going on there? The Mothman is a flying red-eyed creature said to have been first spotted in Point Pleasant, West Virginia in 1996. Years later, the legend lives on.
It was a Richard Gere movie.
Only at this storefront museum, apparently. I've never heard of them. Mothman.
The Mothman. Yeah, he's up. He's kind of a poor man's Loch Ness. You know, you got Bigfoot, Loch Ness, and Mothman's down there. They did an X-Files on Mothman.
Oh yeah, I recall that one. Yeah. The Museum of Clean.
Oh, I'd like to go there.
In Idaho. Yeah, you can see some vacuums and some dustbins and stuff. Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle, Washington. I've heard of that place. I've also heard of the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in Cooperstown. Yeah. Who hasn't? The National Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum in Milwaukee. Okay. They snuck in there somehow, as did the National Mustard Museum, the place to go for condiments.
For what?
They're mustard condiments.
Oh, condiments. Okay.
Yes. I'm not talking about that silly machine they have in the bathroom. The Neon Museum in Vegas, the Oz Museum in Kansas, Paisley Park, the home of Prince. That's been converted into a museum up in Minnesota. The Ringling Brothers Circus Museum. Ain't no circuses no more, but you can go see all about it in the museum in Sarasota. Vent Haven Museum, which appears to be a bunch of ventriloquist dummies. That is tops my vote for creepiest museum.
Okay.
The Strong National Museum of Play. I'm not really sure what that is, but that's in Rochester. And, of course, the great Rancho Obi-Wan, the home to the Guinness Book of World Records largest Star Wars collection that you can go and visit and hang out and hear stories about Star Wars, see props and rare toys and video games and stuff nobody else has but Rancho Obi-Wan. That's where you got to go, and that's why you got to vote. Go to 10best.com/awards, and you should be able to see where you can vote for Best Pop Culture Museum. I think Rancho is down to 6. We got to fix that.
Oh, so you can actually see the... Okay, well, I'm going to vote right now.
Yeah, you do that, and you tell me where Rancho Obi-Wan is.
All right, still 6 out of 20. So get over there.
We got to fix that, you guys. We got to fix that. We need you guys to get out the vote. Go to our website, Rebel Force Radio.
Number 1 is Comic-Con. Look at Mothman Museum. Number 3, it's beating out Rancho Obi-Wan. This is unacceptable.
We can't let the freak show beat out Star Wars. Now, come on, you guys. Our reputation as fans are on the line here. You want to be beat by Mothman? You want the glorious Galactic Empire and the Rebel Alliance and the Order of Jedi Knights to go down in flames at the hands of Mothman? This is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. We have got to get the vote out. Go vote for Rancho Obi-Wan and do it. You'll find the links at rebelforceradio.com. So thank you to our friends at Rancho Obi-Wan who keep the dream alive. And thank you guys for voting. Vote every day. As we say in Chicago, vote early, vote often.
Oh, yeah.
You can vote every day until Monday, February 13th. The winner will be announced on Friday, February 24th.
We got to bring it home. We got to bring it home.
Bring it home.
I got to say that you got the baseball museum there. I'm a little bothered by the fact that the Pro Football Hall of Fame didn't make it. The Pro Football Hall of Fame and Museum in Canton, Ohio didn't even get a list of nominations, but I can go see 500 ventriloquist dummies or the Mothman. That thing doesn't even exist.
Putting the Baseball Hall of Fame in there is something of like, what are you trying to do? Fix this? Put a ringer in there?
Everyone
knows,
right?
I mean, that's an institution. Everyone understands that museum. They know what it is and what it's all about. And you're going to put that thing up against the Bobblehead Museum?
Guess where it is. Guess where it's ranking in the top 20 right now.
Where?
The National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, Cooperstown. It's number 12. It's not even in the top 10.
Because when you think pop culture,
right,
you don't think professional sports. while you can put it under the entertainment umbrella, it doesn't really represent pop culture so much. The actual game being played on the field. The stuff that surrounds it sometimes can be, but yeah, it just really seems out of place having the Cooperstown Museum there with, like you said, the ventriloquist, the Museum of Clean, a bunch of vacuum cleaners next to Babe Ruth and Willie Mays. It just doesn't add up.
No, it's a.
But Rancho Obi-Wan. Rancho Obi-Wan. Vote for Rancho Obi-Wan. I have a little audio tribute to Rancho Obi-Wan I prepared.
Oh, all right. Well, let's get to that.
A long time ago, in the not-so-far-away town of Petaluma, a man purchased an old chicken coop. He filled it with hostile aliens and galactic characters. He called the place Rancho Obi-Wan.
Let me do the cue. Da 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 da.
Welcome to Rancho Obi-Wan.
Steven Sansweet, the guy with the world's largest collection of Star Wars junk. I mean, what the heck?
How dare you? How dare you not respect someone's decision to collect Star Wars junk? How dare you?
Steve Sansweet-san, Mr. Steve Sansweet from Lucasfilms.
In the Star Wars trilogy, the rebellion fought against the tyrannical empire. Now a marketing empire has us running in circles for a pristine version of a figure 50,000 people already have. Price guides and eBay auctions have us all believing we'll be Steven Sansweet, but we won't.
Rancho Obi-Wan is home to the world's largest Star Wars memorabilia collection, as recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records. Become a member of Rancho Obi-Wan right now to get exclusive access to tours of Rancho Obi-Wan, invites to special events, and more. Plus, you can also make a difference and help Rancho Obi-Wan grow with a simple donation of $1 or higher. Visit ranchoobi-wan.org now to get the latest news, become a member, or make a donation. ranchoobi-wan.org.
Obi-Wan. This is Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force, with Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack. The galaxy is listening.
All right, Giancarlo Esposito. Back to news. Giancarlo Esposito, of course, Moff Gideon, who we last saw in the clutches of the good guys, the clutches of the New Republic at the end of Mandalorian Season 2, showed up on Jimmy Fallon, The Tonight Show. Yeah. And Jimmy was, as he always is, he's very excited to see Giancarlo.
He's jumping out of his skin. God. They had to tie Jimmy down. He was so excited. He barely spit out a question. But here Giancarlo is, and he's on a promotional trail for a new Netflix something or another called Kaleidoscope. I don't know what it is, but if Giancarlo Esposito's in it, it's probably pretty cool. So Kaleidoscope with Giancarlo Esposito. And so he hooked up with Jimmy Fallon. First thing out of Fallon's mouth, he could barely spit out this sentence. He wanted to talk Mandalorian with Giancarlo. And Giancarlo was ready to play ball. He reveals he's very excited for Season 3.
Mandalorian, we want it back. You're fantastic, and it is back in March. Finally, it's coming.
You have something I want.
What?
I love
it. Jimmy gets blown out into the hallway there.
I love it.
You have something.
Pulls out the Moff Gideon. This is one of my, I got to tell you, Giancarlo, it never disappoints. I love it when he makes public appearances. He has so much fun. He just owns it. He loves it. He loves that people are interested no matter what the role, what the character, what the show. He loves it. And we love him for it. That's for sure. He's great.
He loves everything about being Moff Gideon. He loves everything about being on The Mandalorian. But does he love sweet Baby Yoda?
Mandalorian's a great show. I really love doing that show.
But you know how to do it. You know how to create a character and make a legendary character. Here you are, though, acting opposite a very cute puppet.
I gotta tell you, I will squash that little big-eared bastard.
No, he didn't just say that. You know, those would be fighting words for anybody else. The big-eared bastard.
Well, you know, Moff Gideon, he might he might have a little chip on his shoulder with the way things went down there.
Yeah.
At the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, little Grogu in those little handcuffs. Moff Gideon thought he had the world at his feet, but little did he know.
Yeah.
That Luke Skywalker was going to come knocking on the door and shake things up and walk out of there with that little big-eared bastard. That was Giancarlo's definition of what Baby Yoda is. Then that's really the only definition of what Baby Yoda is. We don't know what species he is. He's a Yoda species. We don't know what his deal is. The whole 50-year thing.
That's a tough one to wrap our heads around,
We all just assumed that Yoda's species ages very slowly because of the 900 years and all that.
Right.
So when he's 50, he still seems like he's 3 or 2, So now I'm beginning to think like Baby Yoda was in some sort of status where he didn't have an ability to grow. Time just stood still. He was frozen in ember at the Inquisitor's lair where Kenobi visited. Maybe he was just right around the corner, Baby Yoda.
So you don't think that they normally age at such a slow rate? You think that's unique to Baby Yoda because he was almost like frozen in time? Frozen in carbonite, maybe? We talked about this before.
Or like I said, that ember substance that Obi-Wan saw Terra Sanube and other Jedi frozen in at the Inquisitor's headquarters.
Oh, right. When you say, I'm thinking ember, and I'm like, what, Jurassic Park? We got mosquitoes and Baby Yoda?
Well, it's like that.
Right.
I mean, it's sort of similar to that. Sort of like freezing time,
Right.
And how cool would it have been in that episode of Kenobi if he just, like, right around the corner, you see Kenobi running down the hallway and it sort of pans back and you see Baby Yoda stuck in there. Stuck in that ember.
Pretend this is ember. Right now I'm holding up Baby Yoda in carbonite, but pretend it's ember.
Yeah, well, I mean... Or carbonite. I mean, obviously carbonite works here. We are talking Star Wars, and that's what we were leaning on pretty heavily last year.
There has to be a reason, Jim, that they showed us that. I mean, TV shows are so expensive to make. Why take the time, the budget, all of the resources that were needed to give us that glimpse if it wasn't going to have something to do with the future of the story? It's got to. I think.
Absolutely. Well, we hope so. We hope that it's cohesive and, the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. And sometimes in the case of Star Wars productions, we know that's not true.
Not always
Even
true.
in the case of a single production, like a film or something.
Right.
But
much less a trilogy of films.
I would like to see some sort of connective tissue start to really become apparent to us. So, like having, I saw some fans talking after our conversation last week, and they were saying, well, maybe it was Terra Sanube who rescued Grogu or removed him from the Jedi Temple. Maybe it was Terra Sanube. We see him frozen in that amber. We presume it's him. And maybe Baby Yoda was snatched away from him and then also put into some sort of deep freeze or what have you.
Yeah.
So he couldn't age and time would just stand still for him.
It is tough because we've also been talking a lot about the way the clones age on the Bad Batch after show. So you got the clones that are aging at an accelerated rate. You got Baby Yoda that's aging at a decelerated rate. It's a lot of math in Star Wars right now.
Yep. Meanwhile, Swank, you and me just remain ageless. Yeah, baby.
Thank God for that.
All right, let's continue with Giancarlo. Here's a meteor chunk of him talking about how the role was presented to him initially and how Giancarlo negotiated with Jon Favreau over certain elements of the agreement before he came on to the role.
Jon Favreau, who called me and said, "You want to be a part of this show?" He said, "I have good news, I have bad news." I said, well, "Tell me the good news first." The good news is I wrote a role for you of Moff Gideon in Mandalorian. I said, "What's that?" He said, "It's a Star Wars. It's a new Star Wars show that I'm doing." I said, "Okay, great." He said, "What's the bad news?" The bad news is that all the money is going into the volume. And he started talking technically and talking about the story and all these good things. And I said to him, "John, I want to work with people I like. That's the bottom line." I did not want to say, came very close to saying, "I would do it for free." No, you don't. No, you don't say that.
No, but you loved it that much.
I loved it that much. And he said, "Are there any requests?" I said, "I have one request. Please, I must have a cape." And he said, "Done deal."
Wow.
And that just
was you.
It was me. It sold me on everything that I could have a cape. Because, this show allowed me to feel like a kid again. It made me dream again. It made me be in wonder again. It made me feel like I could go any place in the universe and carry my dreams, my hopes, and my imagination with me.
Shades of Billy D.
I was just going to say, didn't Billy D also suggest that his character have a cape? Or was he just happy that he did? Because he does mention the cape. And then, of course, what so often happens these days in Star Wars, it becomes a thing. It becomes a meme.
Right.
So he doesn't just have one cape. He's got a whole damn collection of capes in Solo.
Yes.
Yes.
There's only one cape left in the galaxy, and that went to Moff Gideon. Darth Vader, Vader gets his own capes tailored for him.
Yes.
Any other characters with capes? What other characters in Star Wars?
Well, there are robes. There's a lot of robes.
Yeah, caftans.
Yeah,
a lot of robes, a lot of caftans.
You know who has a cape? I was just looking at his action figure, Tessic, Squidface from Jabba's palace. He's got a nice cape.
Squid has a cape.
He does.
Wow.
He's got a skirt and a cape.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's ready for Saturday night, apparently. Look out, here comes Tessic. He's hitting the town.
Leia occasionally would wear a cape.
Who?
Leia. She wore a cape in Empire Strikes Back on Bespin when she was in her
a cape that was more like a sort of a robe type of thing. I don't think that was.
I'm
really
thinking action figures now. I'm like, who had the
comes
plastic
around
cape?
the top and goes out the back.
Yeah.
Obviously, Vader.
Right.
I don't want to get into expanded universe.
No.
Capes were everywhere there. I think.
Screen.
But other capes in Star Wars.
I think there are more robed characters than there are capes. I think capes are relatively rare. Rogue One. Ben Mendelsohn's character.
Oh, Krennic had a cape.
Krennic had a cape, yeah.
That was that had a practical use though, as a rain smock, I think. Or no, that was a whole
he had a cape
he was wearing.
He was Remember
he had a cape.
He came into the convention wearing that thing?
Oh yeah. He had a cape and he was proud of that cape. And then some of these Imperials have capes too, because remember when Kenobi dressed undercover, again, going back to the Inquisitor's headquarters, and he was smuggling little Leia out of there. She hid under his cape. Right. And that was one of the low moments.
But those are like aren't those little shorty capes that you see the officers in? Now, Mendelsohn, Krennic, he had a big long cape. But those are the ones that I think they seem like almost like more like rain protection or something. They're like, I feel like they're shorty capes.
Yeah, kind of, I guess. You see some of that in Andor as well.
Yeah.
On Ferrix.
Right.
Boba Fett had a half cape.
Right.
Mandalorian has a full cape.
He does.
He wears a cape.
He does wear a cape.
When he doesn't have that jetpack backpack on, he's fully caped.
What does
like
he do with the
Batman.
cape when he puts the jetpack on, though? Does it like fold up into one of those compartments on his belt or something?
Yeah, or it just goes off to the side, kind of.
Yeah, maybe it goes off to the side, yeah. Well, you'd think that cape would be a fire hazard, hanging down next to those jets.
Right, yeah. So I think he probably just removes the cape.
I'm going to watch real closely.
That's what I
next
would
time.
do.
Real closely.
Yeah. But capes in Star Wars, Alex, for 200. But that's about as far as I go, just like riffing off the top of my head.
Right. We got to get Kevin Lyle, who's the trivia master. He hosts a lot of trivia contests at various pop culture and Star Wars conventions. He's got to add a category: Star Wars capes. I like that.
Star Wars capes.
Yeah.
Can you riff on Star Wars capes for 10 minutes like me and Swank just did?
But the Hasbro, the old Kenner figures are kind of misleading because if they had a cloak of any kind or any kind of drapery, they just put a vinyl cape on them. So that's the way that went. Except for the Jawa, they got cloth capes later on. But I'm thinking of that Bespin Leia figure, the classic Bespin Leia from Kenner. She had a cape.
You know who had a cape?
Who had a cape?
This is the last one, okay?
Okay.
Because we're going out on a high note here, baby.
All right.
You know who had
Star
a
Wars
cape?
capes for $500.
Biggs!
Oh, Biggs Darklighter had a cape. Yes, he did on Tatooine. What's that dude?
Tatooine Biggs.
He was balling there with that cape. I mean, he comes back from, training, tells Luke about the rebellion. He's got the cape, man. Wow.
God bless Biggs.
Yeah.
Comes through with the cape.
Next
Didn't
week,
see that
Mac will have
coming.
the action figure ready to show.
We'll have all the capes
All the
represented.
caped action figures.
In the studio. Yes. I might even find a few we forgot.
Right. All right.
Awesome.
Well, so we'll shift gears here back to Andor from Mandalorian. And Diego Luna was at the Critics' Choice Awards. And I don't believe Star Wars took home any gold at the Critics' Choice Awards. I don't think so. I think we would have heard about that. But he was there. He was on the red carpet. And I'm sure he was definitely talking Andor.
Yeah, he sure was. The guys from Deadline, they chased him down, and they just got him to talk on mic for a few seconds about his hard work on season 2 of Andor. And have the cast and crew been aware of the fact that a lot of people really consider Andor to be something special when it comes to Star Wars storytelling, or just some of the best storytelling seen on streaming series in general?
I'd agree with
over
that.
the last year. So, I think so. I don't watch too many streaming series, but I thought this was pretty damn good. And I know what it takes to craft a good story. And Tony Gilroy certainly understands that, and so does his crew. And Diego Luna, he's working hard on season 2 of Andor. And here's what he had to say.
This next season ends with the beginning of Rogue One, and we all know what happens then. So we're working really hard with the same amount of rigor and energy and passion, and it's lovely to be hearing so much love about the show, from audiences, because that keeps us fighting to do an even better second season.
All right.
Fighting.
There you go. Yeah.
To do a better second season. So.
Want to do a better second
season.
season.
Maintain the momentum they built up in the first season. And Diego is fully committed to that idea. And boy, he could not seem more opposite than Cassian Andor.
Oh, no kidding. He's got personality.
Sweet guy. Yeah, friendly, sweet guy, smiley. He seems gentle.
Yeah, right.
He just seems like a good all-around guy. And Cassian seems to have none of those qualities, quite honestly. But we'll see how that character develops in season 2. And according to Diego Luna, we have something good to look forward to when that finally drops in. Speculating 2024.
2024. Yeah, they don't want to wait. They don't want to wait too long. They want to get that out there because it's a pretty dense plot, and so I think the sooner they can get it out there, keep that momentum going. I do think that history is going to be really, really kind to Andor. I think one of the challenges is that some of the audience out there is just not ready for it yet, and it's going to be, the great thing is it's going to be there when they are ready for it, and it's going to be as evergreen and as, important and great as it ever was, So I think it's great. I love that they're dropping these little time capsules, for fans to discover as they age into them. I think it's very cool.
And for the longest time, I think a lot of us fans, we really wanted to see what was going down between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. And now that's all being fleshed out. We always used to call this era the Dark Times. And they don't really play that up as much as they used to, you know?
No.
This is the Dark Times era we're feeding you folks. Look, we got Andor, we got Bad Batch, we got Rebels, Dark Times. You know, I would be playing that up a little more in the marketing department, but what do I know?
You're just a fan.
I know that Riz Ahmed is a real good actor, and he won an Academy Award last year for Best Supporting Actor. And us Star Wars fans, we know him as Bodhi Rook, cargo pilot. Yes, Bodhi Rook from Rogue One. He was really good in that. And so, as part of your duties, when you win an Academy Award the previous year, you become eligible then to be there for the big whoop-de-doo when they announce the next year's Academy Award nominees.
Oh,
and so
okay.
Riz Ahmed was up on stage. Something tells me Riz, if he knew it was going to hit him early in the morning this week when he got up to make these announcements about some of these films, I think he would have he might have even turned in his Oscar. So you'll hear what went down when they got into the animated category.
Oh, no.
Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Booty Rook, Mr. Riz Ahmed, announcing Academy Award nominees.
Up now, the nominees for Best Animated Short Film. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. The Flying Sailor. Ice Merchants. My Year of Dicks.
No comment.
Allison Williams, who was there with him.
I don't know. I was like, what? Wow, you had a good year, Riz, I guess.
Wait a minute.
Oh, there actually is an animated film named My Year of Dicks.
Oh,
and
okay.
When Riz Ahmed, who, by the way, did I mention Riz Ahmed is an Academy Award winner?
Yes.
He won last year for the film The Long Goodbye. But yeah, everyone started laughing in the press room.
Year of Dicks. Okay.
Apparently, it's a story about a young girl who vigorously tries to lose her virginity, and here it is.
And this is an animated feature.
It's an animated feature, and Riz Ahmed has nothing to do with it. But at the end, Riz Ahmed, he's like, "Where's Bor Gullet? I need somebody to wipe my mind of this stuff, man. How did I get talked into this one?"
Oh,
but everyone thinks that moment was pure gold when it went down, and it even made everyone there laugh. And Allison Williams, who was up there announcing the nominations alongside him, she couldn't resist the opportunity to say no comment.
Yeah, right. Bro, you got to be careful.
Brilliant.
They got to be careful.
So,
wow. Okay. All right. Should we get musical now? Is it time?
It is.
Okay.
It definitely is time. Yes.
All right.
Okay. We need to rock out a little bit.
We're going to rock out, as I said earlier, the legendary singer-songwriter Neil Diamond turned 82 this week, so happy birthday to Neil. No, Neil is struggling with Parkinson's, and his performing career is probably over, but man, he left us with some great music and some phenomenal live performances. And so when the Solitary Clone, which so far has been a high point for me on the Bad Batch season this far, it was, I believe it was episode 3 was Solitary Clone? Yes, the whole time I was so distracted when I was watching it the first time because I saw the episode title and I just kept sitting there going, I'll be on my own, the Solitary Clone. Solitary Man, a great classic Neil Diamond song from the 60s.
Jason, I'm taking my panties off and throwing them at you right now.
You know what's even better? You know the name of the album that was on?
What?
The Feel of Neil.
Ooh. Boy, you know you're going to get lucky tonight when you put that on the turntable. The feel of Neil.
So when
Yes.
Solitary Clone came on, I thought, okay, well, because we've got such great talent in the RFR listenership, and they love to send song parodies. So I thought, okay, anybody can come up with a Solitary Clone parody of Solitary Man, and we got some submissions.
We did. We sure did. Yeah, let's start with Austin Vargas, because I like his take on it. He's actually performing the song from the perspective of Crosshair. So this is Crosshair performing a Neil Diamond Bad Batch parody song.
All right.
I guess that's the only way I know how to set it up. But this is actually, you're hearing the words and the voice of Crosshair. Keep that in mind when you listen to this recording, somehow acquired by Austin Vargas and then passed along to us. So here it is.
Here we go.
Clone Force 99 was mine till they found her.
That is Crosshair.
Our unknown sister. That damn Omega. The Empire came along, I stayed strong and followed orders. The Regs and I hate that Rampart guy. Don't know what to do, we just lost Commander Cody. He went AWOL and just up and left me. And I'm here all alone, a solitary clone, a solitary clone. I've had it to hear people leaving my table. An unfriendly bunch, a lonely lunch. I know it's my duty to follow orders given, right or wrong, but these days are long. Don't know what to do, I feel this conflict in me. The Empire's here to stay, and I miss my old family. And I feel all alone.
So sad.
A solitary clone. A solitary clone.
Little musical interlude here. Might get some. I can see the dance number right now in the commissary there.
Don't know what to do. I'm getting tired of this baloney. Rampart's a jerk and he's playing games behind me. And I'm stuck on my own. A solitary clone. A solitary clone.
Here it comes.
So sad.
The
I thought there was a
solitary clone. The solitary clone.
It doesn't stop. You can keep going.
Oh, man. Oh,
that was
that's great.
fantastic.
Good job. Good job.
So, see, that's canon. Crosshair has musical ability, or at least he can craft a song.
You know, and people say that they could never make a Star Wars musical. I disagree. I think this proves it.
Jason, you have connections in the Broadway industry. Can you pass this recording along? Maybe we could all sit down for a pitch meeting.
I love it.
Yeah, the story of Crosshair, the Bad Batch, the musical.
I would love
Bad Batch, the musical.
They go, you want to pitch a Star Wars musical? This is about like Luke and Han and Leia. No. Okay, is it about Obi-Wan and Yoda and Anakin? Nope. Rey? Nope.
No. We're thinking big here. Really big. Crosshair?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Does that ring any bells? Crosshair? Look at that guy, that bald guy with the scar on his face.
Yeah.
And the sour disposition. It's a real loner.
Gee, why wouldn't you want to sit and have lunch with that guy? Imagine what a downer that is. Like getting
This food
indigestion
sucks.
and stuff.
Oh, yes. Every word out of his mouth is just a bummer. This food sucks. I hate this place. God, can you chew any louder? Shut up, Crosshair. You just, all you do is complain.
Yeah. He's a
You
malcontent.
disgust me.
That's what he
Talking
is.
with your food in your mouth.
Ugh.
And then, he's about ready to take a bite of his burger.
Crosshair, come down to Lieutenant Rampart's office. Crosshair.
Son of a solitary clone. All right. That was fantastic. Thank you,
That was
Austin
real
Vargas.
good.
We have
Yes.
one more. We have one more from Glenn Nelson. We are officially putting the lid on the solitary clone submission. So if you snooze, you lose. So we're bringing you this pair. Everyone knows Glenn Nelson. He's a performer. He's a musician out there on the East Coast. He performs with a band that plays at conventions called High Adventure. He's put together. He's crafted such masterpieces as The Fate of Ahsoka and
Great song.
And the Ballad of Humpy the Ewok, and just so many wonderful.
You know, when you look back on someone's career, you can't judge it all by one song. But I think that the Ballad of Humpy the Ewok is a high watermark for Glenn. I think he would. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he would also agree that he reached.
It's one of those seminal moments in music production history. Just talking about it, the hairs are standing up on my arms. Just talking about it. Oh, wow.
That's not what's
Amazing.
standing up on Humpy. Let me tell you, it's not the hairs on his arms.
Woo! Walked right into that one, didn't I? Yes, Humpy the Ewok. So we have Glenn Nelson here, and this is his take on Solitary Clone. No word on if it's actually being sung from the perspective of Crosshair or if it's about Crosshair. We're just going to have to listen and determine that ourselves. But this is Glenn, music and lyrics. He accompanies himself on acoustic guitar for this bad boy. So take it away, Glenn.
Of the acoustic version here.
Victory was mine till the time the war ended. Blasting droids out in the void. Then 66 came along, the Jedi wrong, that's what I thought. But that died too, me and my crew. Don't know that I will, but until the day I find them, the batch will pay, I'll always be right behind them. And I'll be alone, solitary clone, a solitary clone. I'm a soldier, not a babysitter. I towed the line in Clone Force 99. Once upon a time, we were all a band of brothers. They took our home, now I'm a rolling stone. Don't know that I will, but until the day I find them, the batch will pay, I'll always be right behind them. And I'll be alone, a solitary clone, solitary clone, a solitary clone.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was awesome.
That was fantastic.
That was
such
great.
passion.
That was fantastic. I mean, that was actually, I was really into that song, you know.
Yeah.
The clip that came from Austin really took me into the mind of Crosshair, but this put me front row at Lollapalooza almost, you know. I was really enjoying that. So both of you guys, you know, this wasn't a contest or anything, but in my opinion, you're both big winners.
Yep.
And the prize you'll get is, well, it's nothing because this is Rebel Force Radio. So I mean, what do you expect? But thanks a lot for contributing.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Hope you
so-
had fun with it.
That'll put the end to this musical edition of Rebel Force Radio until Jason thinks of another song from the Great American Songbook or rock and roll or show tunes or whatever that will apply to Star Wars, and he makes a request for it. And, that'll probably happen with next week's episode of The Bad Batch, so stay tuned, We'll see. It's a musical journey we're on here together.
All right, well, let's check in with Star Wars in pop culture.
Rebel Force Radio.
You've already made that Star Wars reference.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars parody!
Oh, man, we had Topher Grace on the program not that long ago, and he was talking about that season premiere of Home Economics back in the fall, and all the the Star Wars goodness that was there, and shooting at Galaxy's Edge and all of that. And I remember, Mac, you were saying, I wanted to ask you, up until this point, has there been any Star Wars references? And because that 70s show was just replete with them, of course. So when he ended up in the spinoff, that 90s show, which just premiered on Netflix, I think last week is when the season dropped. They wasted no time in laying down the Star Wars references. I don't think we'll be asking next time we talk to Topher if there's going to be any references, because right out of the gate, man, episode 1.
Yeah, and it was nice to go back to those classic sitcom sets, Kitty and Red's house, go in the kitchen and the basement, and get caught up with the cast from the 70s show here on the 90s show, and then get to know the new cast too. And I think all in all, the producers have kept the vibe consistent. It feels like that 70s show. It seems like it's going to be populated with a likable group of teens. I mean, I'll admit, maybe I'm getting old or whatever. At times it reminded me more of iCarly than that 70s show. But yeah, again, that's just me. I'm over the hill. This show isn't meant for me, but I sure did like it when Kitty and Red were on the screen, and you got caught up with that cast that we love so much from that 70s show.
Yeah.
And, just knowing the history of that 70s show and all the Star Wars references that you mentioned, Jason, that they dropped, I got the early tip that Eric's daughter was going to be named Leia. So I figured this is going to be Star Wars in pop culture territory, no doubt about it. And so everyone caught it when it dropped. They told me about the first episode at least. We heard from Coulter Gill, Pistol Pete, Ted, and Robbo from Chicago, who told me what to look for in that 70s show. But I actually sat and watched that whole first episode. So that's all we're going to be featuring on Star Wars and Pop Culture this week are clips from the first episode of that 90s show. And the first clip is we get an update on Eric Foreman. He's back home with his daughter Leia for a visit, visiting mom and dad, Kitty and Red. And Eric's occupation, his profession, gets revealed in this conversation.
So, Eric, how are things at the university?
Going great. I'm an adjunct professor now, which means I got a permanent parking space for my bicycle. That's what happens when your course is super popular, Dad.
The religion of Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
This country's gonna lose the next war.
Not if it's an intergalactic battle between good and evil.
Exactamundo.
Oh, man. I don't know how many times I say that. This country's going to lose the next war when I'm talking to young people. I'm with Red on that, but...
Not if we're armed with lightsabers, my friend.
That's right. That's right.
We'll kick ass and take names. So Leia is getting settled in here, and she meets some kids next door, and she wants to go hang out with these new friends of hers. But it's the 4th of July, and so it's supposed to be a family time together. So Eric confronts her before she takes off to hang with her friends, and you'll hear more Star Wars references dropping like wildfire.
Okay, you can go, but you have to be home in time for fireworks, okay?
I'll try.
As Master Yoda said. As Master Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try.
Master Yoda was a puppet from a fake world with some guy's hand up his butt.
Well, now you're just being hurtful.
Teenagers, I feel for you, son. But on the other hand, payback's a bitch.
The bright. I mean, they just fall back into the characters. I mean, especially Topher. He just falls back into that character as Eric Foreman so well. His timing, and I have a feeling that, especially as I watch the second and the third episode, I feel like either he spent maybe some time with the actress that's playing his daughter, or she just really studied up because she's got a lot of his cadence and speech patterns and mannerisms. She does a great job, I think, of. She looks a little bit more like Mom, Donna, but she acts a lot like her dad.
Yeah, for sure. And it essentially fills his role then in the Foreman basement, when all the gang is hanging out. And we start learning of other connections that some of these new friends of hers have to classic characters from that 70s show. But so she's trying to fit in, and I like her. I think she's very likable.
She's very
likable. I don't know her name.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Later in the show, Eric reveals Leia's middle name, or at least the middle name he wanted to give her.
Leia Tatooine Foreman.
Her middle name is Anne.
You know what? I never agreed to that. Where have you been?
Oh man, I don't think I could have snuck Tatooine by by my
No.
wife. I don't think
The
that one would
Leia
have gone by.
The Leia is one that we can get by the goalie. But even with the biggest slap shot, mere feet away from the crease, we will not score that goal when it comes to Tatooine, even as a middle name. Name. But God bless Eric Foreman for keeping that alive, keeping hope alive in that department. I wonder how Alderaan would fly. Leia Alderaan Foreman. I kind of like that better than Tatooine, actually.
Yeah,
I think
do
maybe
too.
he would have been able to sell that better. But and the connection between Leia and Alderaan, forget it's a lost cause. Our last clip. This is a quickie. Eric is he's outside, in the familiar driveway there with the basketball hoop, and he's sitting on the hood of the car, and he's lamenting the fact that he was a little harsh, a little authoritarian with his young daughter, and he fears that he may have grown up into the thing that he'd always disliked.
Ooh.
You okay?
Can't believe it. Studied Star Wars my entire life, and in my moment of truth, I turn into my evil father.
There's a moment
Poor
later,
Red.
which Eric gets real ticked off at the daughter and talks about putting a foot up her, what, ASS, and which was a great Red line. And Red looks at Eric and he goes, "I've never been more proud, son."
Dumbass.
Dumbass.
But so that's that 90s show. Those are the Star Wars references in the pilot episode. I think I'm going to cruise through the rest. If you watch the show and you catch more Star Wars references, let us know. Show at rebelforceradio.com. And that looks like a fun show. So I'll probably be watching some more of that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and it's very nostalgic. I was telling Mac earlier that I read some interviews with the cast, and they were talking about some of the struggles because as they were producing the show, COVID was in full swing, and there were a lot of things that prevented them from doing the kinds of rehearsals and things that might normally be done. So, there were some challenges in producing the show. But if you're a fan of that 70s show, you'll really like this. And if you're a fan of Rebel Force Radio, and we know you are, unless you're a masochist listening to this right now, then you might want more Rebel Force Radio in your life. And one of the best ways to do that is with Patreon. And Jim, Patreon continues to grow. The programming is expanding, but we got a little housekeeping we want to update folks with.
Oh, yeah, I need all of our Patreon supporters to understand that we made a little change in how shows are being distributed. So as of now, the Patreon feed will only be used for RFR exclusive Patreon programming, which means we'll be posting up things like the weekly RFR Q&A, the Babu Freaks, RFR RPG, and other special exclusive Patreon programming directly to the Patreon feed. But in the past, we've also been posting up individual weekly RFR show files and after show show files onto the Patreon feed. We're going to stop doing that. We're going to just make it so you get those shows via our free main RSS feed, Rebel Force Radio, found wherever you get podcasts, or just go to our main website, rebelforceradio.com.
There's all the exclusive content is on one feed, and then the regular show content, the weekly show, the after shows, that's all on another feed.
The top secret special stuff is on the Patreon feed. And that's where you'll find things like the weekly RFR Q&A. We have a couple episodes out for 2023. One of them, top 20 lightsaber duels ranked. We have a great time ranking the lightsaber duels. And there's also a video component to RFR Q&A made available to all access Patreon supporters. And so you can actually see the lightsaber duels as we're watching them and commenting on them. Also released this week, RFR 149, The Pitfalls of Star Wars Nostalgia. It's me and Peter Beiser, and we're talking about how Star Wars has grown and what it's presented to us thus far in the Disney era, and what could be on the horizon, and how much of it is going to be steeped in the Star Wars we have always known and loved, and how much of it is going to push Star Wars into a different direction. And playing up those nostalgic edges, does it provide more integrity to the franchise, or does it provide certain speed bumps along the way? So we discuss that. I don't think we reach a final conclusion, but it's something worth talking about.
Well, what I love what you're doing is that on some of these, and again, you can see, if you go to rebelforceradio.com, you can see these episodes. You can see the show, the episode posts. You can't listen to them unless you're a Patreon member, but you can kind of get a sense of what you're getting when you do become a supporter. And there's even, in some cases, audio clips. So you really do get a sense of what these shows are like. And so you can make the right decision and become a Patreon supporter.
Yeah, right. So we're putting up 10-minute previews of all these shows that are Patreon exclusives. Usually the shows themselves run about 90 minutes to 2 hours. And there's so much great stuff there. And full show video is always available to RFR All Access supporters, and that's the only place to get full show video. RFR RPG is a new game. Myself, Matt Rashid, Tyler Page, and probably a revolving door of other gamers are going to be playing these RPG games. And with RPG sessions, you often go off on tangents as far as conversation goes. And we went off on a big tangent on the very first episode of RFR RPG, and you're going to hear it now. We talk a little bit about Luthen's shop, and and we notice all of those familiar items on his shelf and wonder, how does he get away with selling all that stuff? And is that stuff actually part of the story? Are we supposed to just be tickled by the Easter egg, or is this a visual cue for something else? We're very confused, and we talk about it on RFR RPG. So here's a little free preview of how that conversation went down.
Rebel Force Radio.
Luthen shop. Why does this guy have outlawed Jedi artifacts on sale to the general public,
because when they put it on the set, they didn't realize it was,
because that's right. And I think if Tony Gilroy caught that, he would say, get that garbage out of here. I really think he would.
I don't watch Star Wars.
Now,
I don't really know anything about it.
The arguments to me would be, well, Jimmy Mack, there are a lot of World War II collectors out there who collect Nazi artifacts. But
yeah, but they do it out in. They don't have the Ark of the Covenant in the thing.
Do they do it out in the open? Yeah, those stones. Those stones.
And the Shankra stones.
Well, that's something. Okay, I can live with that, because that's outside of the franchise,
The Shankra stones.
Yeah. It's like, there's some connection between the Indiana Jones universe and the Star Wars.
That's like Club Obi-Wan.
That's kind of neat.
That's Club Obi-Wan.
Or seeing the hieroglyphics of R2 and 3PO in the tomb in the Well of the Souls. That stuff, I like that stuff. That's fun little stuff. But when you're talking about putting Jedi artifacts on sale in a gallery on Coruscant, that's open to the public, I think that would attract a lot of attention from the Empire.
Listen, there's 3 of us about to do an Star Wars RPG. So we're pretty much going to respond to whatever props are placed in the background. And if you start placing, Jedi and Sith artifacts, we're going to notice.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said about like know what props you're putting on set.
And also even if it is okay to collect that stuff in the Empire era of Star Wars,
not if you're trying to keep a low profile.
If you're like if you're like Luthen and you're trying to keep the heat off of you, the last thing you're going to be
this
doing.
lightsaber will fetch a pretty penny.
The last thing is good to have Sith and Jedi holocrons on a shelf. That's the last thing in the world.
Maybe they were repros. Maybe they were repros. We don't know.
Allegedly, in the same universe, Vader is like hunting those down.
Yeah, I know. He's like, where are they?
Right.
I will find them.
And listen, I don't think this is being nitpicky. I think this is a fair conversation to have because Star Wars is this live action Star Wars. This is a visual medium, and the story gets told via the actions of the characters, the dialogue that comes out of their mouths. And the visual things on screen that we see, that's part of the storytelling.
100%.
And so just to throw shit in there and be like, it doesn't matter. We're just doing it for laughs.
We just need something in the background.
No, 100%. That's you do stuff like that. You're saying something.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying something to most of your audience, which is going to be in the know.
Mm-hmm. So I just think it's important for Tony. Maybe somebody should tell him that because I think he should. He doesn't have the type of control over the situation that he thinks he has, and that's because he's ignorant about Star Wars. There's cracks in the armor, and So I'd like to have a sit down with Tony and tell him about this. I think I'm the guy to do it too.
So say you have your interview, which I would love to hear.
Yeah.
And you present the stuff, which is all valid stuff. Basically, it's saying, did you know that what you've populated Luthen's shop with, which is his cover, with red flags everywhere.
Yeah.
What do you think he would say to that?
He would try to rationalize why it doesn't matter. And then I would respond by telling him it matters a great deal because you have people in your audience who are highly educated on this kind of thing. And this is a visual storytelling medium. So you have to take accountability for anything that's being presented on screen, even if it's in the background.
Yeah,
you really do, especially.
So you think he'd kind of stake his position on it, and
he'd be like, "Oh, well, that's the prop department, and it doesn't matter."
They're reproductions.
I'd be like, "No, you got to get control. You got to get control of that." Okay, if he gave me an in-universe, saying that they were fake and that they were replicas, I would say that's fine. That I can accept that. But why would Luthen have that stuff on display?
That's the other thing.
If he's
you
trying
want to have to explain to the Imperials when they knock on your door that they're repros.
Yeah, you got this guy. He's living a double life. You don't want to be introducing any elements.
You want to be selling cigarettes and gum.
Yeah, he's running a bodega.
Right. Luthen's bodega.
Yeah, you want an Optimo shop. I don't know if you guys have that out there, but we have an Optimo shop.
Yeah.
It's like cheap cigars and magazines.
Your source for the Force.
I thought the idea that you came up with, or that was that got brought up about reproductions, in-universe reproductions, I think that was pretty fascinating. But I also think that you're dead right, where you got Gilroy, who kind of parades around the fact that he's not buried in the lore, he's not buried in the mythology, and that's what is really helpful with him kind of focusing the story. But at the same time, he's surrounding himself with lore. Mm-hmm. He's surrounding himself on set with the lore. So
he's surrounding himself on the set with visual cues to the Star Wars lore, which can be interpreted in many different ways, thus hijacking his entire story right out from under his feet, and he has no idea.
Right.
No idea what's going on. So he needs to quit patting himself on the back so much and grab himself a flippin' Star Wars encyclopedia and sit down for the weekend. But okay, here I just wanted to respond to that actual clip, though. Our conversation. I received an email from Alexander from Honolulu, who, in response to that tangent on the first episode of RFRPG about Luthen's shop, that conversation reminded Alexander of a potential connection or inspiration for Luthen himself and how his shop works. So Alexander is pointing us in the direction of the book called The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick, who wrote Blade Runner and Total Recall and other things. At least Total Recall was based on a story he wrote. Same with
Great show, by the way. It was adapted into a fabulous show on Amazon Prime. Loved it. Watched them all.
That's what we're. Yeah, you did.
I did.
Good. And perfect, because maybe you can comment on this. Because I only scrubbed through the first episode because I thought the subject matter was so compelling. I had to give it a look for myself. Amazon Prime series about an alternate history where the Axis forces win World War II. So that means the Germans and the Japanese win World War II, and the Nazis overthrow the USA, and it gets split in half. Our country. United States of America gets split in half between the Japanese and the Nazis. And in the series, there's a character who lives in occupied San Francisco, and his name is Robert Childan. Do you know his Childan? Childan? Robert Childan? Childan. And he owns an antique store that deals in Americana, like cowboy stuff, guns, and clothing.
Right.
Now, these items are illegal for the occupied American citizens to own, but this guy, Childan, is allowed to sell this old antique stuff to occupying Japanese citizens. Apparently, that's a thing with the Imperial Japanese.
They're real into it. Yeah, the way the series, and I didn't read the book, obviously. I don't read. But the way that the series worked was, that the Japanese were very interested in Americana. So all of those sort of, especially the Wild West, things like that. So, it was...
cowboy boots, blue jeans.
Right.
10-gallon hats, guns, maybe.
Right.
And so his shop is allowed to operate, but is closely watched for who buys what. So the shop itself may be providing information to those who are oppressing the American citizens, the Japanese or the Nazis. And the kicker is Childan is also secretly working for the resistance movement and passes information back and forth, becoming more directly as the series goes on. So he is kind of like a Luthen-like character.
He's a great character. One of the best performances in the series. Really compelling because he's so resistant to it, but he gets drawn, further and further in. I can't say enough about the show. It's definitely binge worthy. It's really, really great. I've talked to friends who have read the book, and they say the book's even better than the show. But it's great, and it's got Jimmy James from News Radio, Stephen Root, who's a great actor. He actually plays the man in the high castle. But the antique dealer is a great character, and really good observation that it kind of dovetails a little bit into Luthen being a antique dealer, and that's the front for his effort.
Yes. Oh, Stephen Root was in the Book of Boba Fett too.
Oh my God, that's right. Another Star Wars.
You mentioned Stephen. So in conclusion, Alexander from Hawaii says, it may be that Luthen's shop is also being closely monitored, and he's essentially allowed to trade in illegal Jedi or Sith artifacts as a trap for the ISB to identify Force sensitives or rebellion members. So they're monitoring the situation, and so maybe Luthen understands this, and that's why. I mean,
I love this
smoke and
idea
mirrors and stuff.
that he is hiding in plain sight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if he really does have, if he's doing it by the book and he has the authorization to sell and deal in these artifacts of a history that the Empire wants to banish, but they also know that creates scarcity, rarity, and profit. So it would make sense to me that they would be kind of playing both sides of this in dealing in these antiquities, which is exactly what you see. So you've got the occupying forces of the Japanese on the one hand. They've dominated America, they're controlling this part of America, but they also are in love with what made it America, the West and all of that. So this is a really cool, I think, connection. And if you're looking for a show to stream, it's several years old now, but I think it holds up great. Man in the High Castle, really well done. Loved it. Very cool.
Chewie, get us out of here!
I love the people that say, "What are you going to talk about this week? You said it all on the Bad Batch." No.
We didn't even talk about the Bad Batch.
Oh. 2 shows a week? We could do more than 2 shows a week. And you guys make it fun. Thanks for the great feedback, the emails, the comments. By the way, we got to get more comments on the show posts. So when the show posts, it goes out on Instagram and Facebook. Come on, guys. Let's get I used to really get excited every time we'd post a new show. I'd get on there and see what people are saying. And I see you all liking it. It's not that you're not seeing it, you're not liking it, but let's get the conversation.
It seems like the lion's share of conversation like that has shifted over to Patreon and YouTube. YouTube has been a big grower for us lately, and especially as far as community stuff like interaction, feedback, conversations, observations,
Facebook
ideas.
Seems like, other than the Rebel Force Radio group, but Facebook in general seems to really not be doing much of anything.
Well, at least our page doesn't generate the conversation that used to, but like I said, we have the group.
Yep.
And Patreon and YouTube have been strong performers. But I'm like you, Jason. I sure do miss those days when people were filling up the Facebook comment section and telling us everything we did wrong.
There was the guy that used to put the time codes. At 1 minute and 38 seconds.
Remember him? What happened to him? The time code guy. Oh, he had the whole show broken down by time codes. Exactly everything we did wrong. Everything we need to be corrected on.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
yeah.
That guy was my absolute favorite listener of all time, and I hope he gets back to it.
Where some people see criticism, we see passion. And there's no one more passionate than Rebel Force Radio Patreon supporters, as we played earlier. RFR RPG, one of the newest programs. It's exclusive to Patreon as well as Q&A, and just so many great podcasts and content over there. So please check it out at patreon.com/rebelforceradio, or just go to rebelforceradio.com and click on the Patreon banner. Weekly full show video is available. So the show that you're listening to right now, this podcast, you can watch in full HD glory. That's right. So you can see our faces. And, honestly, the real reason that we decided to do video is so that when we do conventions and stuff, people stop saying, "Yeah, you don't look anything like I expected you to."
I still get that. I get that all the time. I've been getting that forever.
That is the life of a radio personality, that's for sure. But Patreon is an awesome community of Star Wars fans. You've heard many of them on our after shows calling in. Get them to the head of the line. So please check it out. Patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. And as we said earlier, check us out on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is growing by leaps and bounds as well. And we love to have those likes. So if you're binging and watching some RFR playlists, please, it doesn't take much. Just give it that thumbs up. We appreciate it. Leave a comment. That would be great. That helps us as well. We're on all of the social media platforms. We're on Instagram and we're on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us at Rebel Force Radio, or in the case of Twitter, at RFR Rebel Force. The website for everything and all things Rebel Force Radio is, of course, rebelforceradio.com. And it's not just the free stuff that gets mentioned. All of the posts are, for the Patreon shows are there, so you can really see what you're getting in advance before you commit to become a supporter of us on Rebel Force Radio Patreon. But the best way you can help us here at Rebel Force Radio is just to do what you're doing right now. Keep listening, keep downloading, keep subscribing. And if your podcatcher of choice allows you to do a review, leave us a review. We'd love to have those reviews. Just one rule, please.
Make them good.
And we will be back next week with more Rebel Force Radio. Please join us on Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. Bad Batch After Show. We'll be looking next week at episode 6. I don't know if there's going to be a song parody challenge coming out of it. We'll have to see what happens.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But in the meantime, keep listening to us here at Rebel Force Radio. We love you all so much. Have a great one. Until next time, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
Rebel Force Radio.
I will squash that little big-eared bastard.